Good evening. I'm Byron Scott with a CTV News update. Greenbelt police tonight are mourning the loss of a fellow officer. Master Police Officer Christine Peters died today, nearly 2 weeks after being hit by a vehicle while investigating a car crash. The incident happened on January 2nd on Edmonston Road near Sunnyside Park. U.S. Park Police are investigating the incident. Peters served as a police officer for more than 2 decades.
Officer Peters was a 22-year veteran of the Greenbelt Police Department. She began her policing career in 1998 here in the city of Greenbelt. Prior to coming to the city of Greenbelt Police Department, she served with the University of Maryland Police Department in College Park. While here in the city of Greenbelt, she served in a variety of capacities, including as a patrol officer and most recently assigned to our evidence unit. Anybody wishing to contribute to Officer Peters, there's a GoFundMe page on the Greenbelt City Police Department's website, www.greenbeltmd.gov.
The website again is greenbeltmd.gov. Well, police arrest 5 suspects in connection with a fatal stabbing in Langley Park. They include 21-year-old Jose Cardon Estrada and 23-year-old Yeri Pascual Miguel, both of Langley Park. The 2 men, along with 3 teens, are accused in the New Year's Day murder of 44-year-old Faustino Lopez. The suspects have been charged with first-degree murder, assault, and armed robbery. Well, after the civil unrest with Black Lives Matter and the riot on Capitol Hill, a former University of Maryland student and Navy veteran is saying enough is enough by creating a new organization. Keisha Butts has those details.
David Smith says he found the unfair treatment of Black Lives Matter protesters as gut-wrenching, especially the attack in Lafayette Square. That's when Smith founded a veteran advocacy group called Continue to Serve.
It was just this idea that it felt like an attack on freedom of speech. It felt like a direct attack on the BLM movement in general. And so we just wanted to be out there so we could try and stand with that, stand with those citizens that were just trying to do what they were allowed to do, which is to protest.
Continue to Serve, which was founded in June, has about 15 to 20 members so far. Smith, who served in the Navy for 13 years, also says he was disturbed to see former military members storm the Capitol. So his group organized about 200 people this weekend to pick up trash and peel off stickers left by the rioters.
We just wanted to remove all the hate, you know, and there was a lot of symbols of hate with all these different stickers and so and signs, and we talked with a couple different organizations and notified people when we saw some of the murals that have been defaced, so that way the artists could go back out there and repair their work.
Continue to Serve is seeking volunteers. Smith says the group already has 200 applications. For more information, visit continuetoserve.vet. This is Keisha Butts with CTV News. Back to you.
Well, parents across the country are talking with their children about the insurrection last week. So how should parents go about those conversations? Dr. Patricia Jenkins says adults need to begin by being honest and open with their children about what happened. She also says to keep in mind your child's age when having those tough conversations.
You try not to use labels, but the actual facts. The facts as we know it, as concerning as last week was, but the facts as we know it is this. The general phrase is there were a group of people who were disappointed because they did not get what they want. And they wanted one person for president. But again, we have to make sure the child understands what president is before we can move forward. If it's an older child, I am thinking between, 5th grade, 7th grade. If the child is older than 10, it could become an assignment. It's like, okay, do you know what the Capitol is? What is the Capitol? What is that building? Who works there? Why don't we do a little assignment so we can answer your questions, openly and honestly?
Jenkins also says that children are always listening and watching adults. That's why it's important to be mindful of your attitudes and behaviors around them. Well, the Biden inauguration is just days away, and the nation's capital is anything but normal these days. You won't see these scenes at the National Mall anytime soon. Access to the Washington Monument and Lincoln Memorial and other tourist sites are off limits following the insurrection at the Capitol last week. Security has been beefed up around the district. Up to 20,000 National Guard troops will be on hand along with federal and local police. Several roads have been closed and Metro is shutting down a number of stations. Meantime, the authorities continue to investigate and arrest rioters. U.S. history was made yesterday. The U.S. House impeached Donald Trump for the second time for inciting the riot on the U.S. Capitol. Well, COVID cases continue to rise in Maryland. Here are the latest numbers. The number of people who tested positive for COVID-19 over the last 24 hours is 2,948. There were 44 deaths connected to the disease, which is 8 more than yesterday. The positivity rate is down slightly at 8.43%. In Prince George's, though, more than 61,000 people have tested positive for the coronavirus. Well, the Metropolitan Council of Governments talks coronavirus vaccination distribution. During a Zoom call yesterday, health officials and the Montgomery County executive briefed COG on the rollout and expressed their concerns.
I completely agree about doctors and clinics. And I'm going to ask the governor if he can just frankly draft them. They ought to be mobilized. We've got so many clinics, and I know the other counties, you've got these private clinics that are out there in the community. They're sort of like the emergency health facilities. We need to mobilize them.
Well, COG also discussed several legislative priorities, including Homeland Security. D.C. Council member Robert White, meantime, was voted as the new chair for 2021. Well, a fire ripped through a home in Mitchellville last night. It happened on the 10,900 block of Maiden Drive just after 5:30. When crews arrived, the garage and attic were engulfed in flames. 2 adults and 1 child have been displaced. And you're watching CTV News. I'm Byron Scott. More news in just a bit.
For the latest information on COVID-19 in Maryland, visit the State Health Department website. That's health.maryland.gov. Again, health.maryland.gov. Click the link to the COVID-19 Information portal. There you'll find all the latest information about coronavirus. You'll find daily updates on cases and fatalities. Answers to questions about testing and the governor's stay-at-home order are available as well. For specific information about Prince George's, visit princegeorgescountymd.gov. That's princegeorgescountymd.gov. The site offers information about local services for residents and businesses. There's a link for COVID-19 relief donations. Also, food pantry locations are listed. And if you have any questions, call the county COVID-19 hotline at 301-883-6627. That's 301-883-6627.
You're looking at me in the future. Okay. Hi, Isaac.
Hi.
Wait a second.
Do you know who I am?
Julia.
This is Jaina. Into the future.
I just wanted to talk to you about what happened with those 2 girls.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember it was this girl that I was getting bullied by
That one day at PE when they were like yelling at me, and then you just linked arms with me. I don't think you know how much like that helped me, because like I finally like knew that I had somebody.
Because of you, Isaac, and what you did for me years ago, I grew up to be more independent and love myself and just be a little bit more confident.
Aw, I'm like a little tearing up right now. Just to see her in the future just blossom and look beautiful, and that was really amazing.
Welcome back. The Maryland General Assembly convened yesterday in what was described as a bizarre and surreal circumstances. The 90-day session got underway without the usual revelry. Lawmakers in the mostly empty House chambers were separated by protective screens. Governor Hogan commented earlier that Annapolis looked more like a ghost town. Senate President Bill Ferguson says the session will be like no other.
Fundamentally, legislatures are about convening people to solve a state's problems, or to express the views of the 6 million Marylanders. It is very difficult to do that in a remote, in a virtual, and even in a protected session. There is just the engagement that happens of those off-counter or off-chance encounters that help maybe solve or raise the importance of an issue. And so it hit me how different this session is going to be and how hard it will be. But at the end of the day, we got to put all that aside because it is so critical that we focus on people who are really hurting, and we've got to urgently get them the support that they need.
The legislature is expected to take up major police reform legislation, including an effort to repeal the Police Officers' Bill of Rights. And the American Civil Liberties Union releases its Maryland priorities for 2021. At the top of the agenda, police reform. This follows a year of unrest following the death of George Floyd in May. The ACLU is also calling for a repeal of the Police Officers' Bill of Rights. Other items include removing school resource officers and returning control of Baltimore police to the city. And animal rights activists are looking for a more humane legislative agenda during the upcoming session or the current new session. The Humane Society and other organizations are pushing for the passage of several measures, including one that is tough to watch, the banning of wildlife killing contests. The video that you're about to see is graphic and may not be suitable for children to watch.
And the Humane Society of the United States did an undercover investigation, which we released last year during session. They are truly gruesome events where contestants win prizes for killing the most foxes or the most coyotes, or killing the largest animal or the smallest animal. So what we see is over the course of several weeks, hundreds of animals being shot by high caliber guns and ammunition just for sport and just to participate in these contests for prizes.
The disposal of the bodies, what are we talking about? Is there any purpose at all to this besides just a killing contest?
Our undercover investigation documented the bodies just being dumped at the end of the killing contest. And because of the nature of the high capacity ammunition being used, the bodies aren't able to be used for fur or for their pelts. So it really is just an effort in slaughtering these animals in a way that renders them unusable for any other purpose.
The video is quite graphic. What is it that you want people to know about this particular activity?
Even hunters oppose them. We have 2 hunters who are coming to testify to say, we don't support this. This doesn't represent what good animal management should look like.
The wildlife killing contest and the shelter in extreme weather bills will be heard this Friday in the House Environment and Transportation Committee. Well, House Republicans in the Maryland General Assembly vote to keep their current leaders, at least for now. Delegate Nicholas Kepke will continue to serve as minority leader and Kathy Zalega as minority whip. Both plan to relinquish their leadership positions after this session. Both have served together in their roles since 2013, the longest-serving Republican caucus leadership in state history. And that's our news for tonight. I'm Byron Scott. Join us tomorrow night. Good night.
I moved to Florida with literally pennies in my pocket and a prayer. I needed a new start. Dacian looks like a very typical 3-year-old until you ask him, "What's your name? How old are you?" My son has a lot of behaviors that would show as being autistic. Most kids can tolerate a variety of foods, but unfortunately for Dacian, everything has to be organic and raw. I wasn't ashamed to go to the food pantries. It's expensive to eat healthy, and nutrition is very important to Dacian's health. The healthy organic food that we receive dramatically helped his social skills. Most people would say, she really doesn't have much of a life. But to me, I have everything right there next to me and my son.
There was a time in my life where I was extremely homesick. I decided that I needed a pet. When I first saw a turtle, my heart was full. He jumped up and kissed me and jumped right into my arms. I immediately went up to the volunteers at the shelter and said, I want him. He's gotta come home with me. Now I'm anything but lonely. Every day with Turtle is a perfect day and keeps me company when I'm doing schoolwork. I like it when he jumps up on the table too. He is a veggie thief. He's an incredible companion and my best friend. Can't say that I've met anybody that doesn't love him too. When I adopted Turtle, I discovered all the things that make him unique. He's a little bit of a lot of things, but mostly he's all pure love.
It's so sad.
Good.
It's not.